spiritual. Magic is a spell you can start using, spelling. Our language is made to create feelings in one another, and feelings create emotions. This means emotions are what drive us to act. All life is energy interacting with energy. Some people start with affirmations to begin changing their worlds. Others find affirmations are not enough to combat their degraded thoughts beliefs. The key to effective affirmations is in directing the energy related to them. This comes through dissecting our habits and questioning our reality. Are you ready for the challenge to awaken your true potential? Holly Sarah Parsons. Holly Sarah Parsons. Holly Sarah Parsons is a multi-talented young lady expressing herself through a variety of arts, including areas in entertainment, writing, fashion, and other mediums. She has always challenged traditional limits as reported by her mother. In grammar school, Holly was the individual who would be zigzagging when the teacher instructed a single-file line. Through her life experiences, she adopted confirmation and asserts herself in valued areas. Her mission is to spread awareness through her expressions and share her talent and views with the world. In this book, Holly gives readers techniques and insight. It's time to wake up. Create your world, not someone else's, and learn to understand and respect your boundaries, reports Holly. An introduction to Real Magic 1. Real Magic, Holly Sarah's Divine Province, the Free Judazine. Field of Infinite Possibilities. Copyright 2015 by Holly Sarah Parsons. First edition February 10th, 2017, handmade, machine printed by Holly Sarah Parsons. To order your copy, please visit. Contents. Introduction, where is it formed? The Truth Awareness labels currency. Fertilized conclusion, 11/13/1927 3722,500,000. 547.2. Entryway to Real Magic. You will have to suspend all units of limitation and become a spiritual being first, a being who has no limitation in your inner domain. Acting as if you already were what you want to become, and knowing that you can become it, is the way to remove self-doubt and enter your real magic kingdom. Dr. Wayne Dyer. Introduction. When first introduced to my concepts of life and thinking, you may find ruptured defensive tyrant activity within your inner voices, thus creating the feeling of disbelief. Remembering that the true ruler is our feeling, whatever you believe is manifesting. Without an open mind, you may never experience real magic. However, real magic is taking place all over the world. Society uses images and words to stir feelings inside each person who witnesses their projections, and many times we act on these feelings. We are so vulnerable to our words, we project our inner selves onto the world. It's a ripple effect, and the world is our canvas. Without consciously deciding what picture we want to create, the spelling all around us is dictating our essence and creating someone else's reality. The more people who can strengthen their awareness to the vulnerability around our very nature to be spellbound, the stronger our true inner yearnings can be loved and cherished. Chapter I. Where is it formed? In learning to take control of our lives, we must understand that we create our universe. All the support we need is within ourselves. Many believe there is a source for the never-ending energy or life force within us. Our power is what we make it. Our power is our belief. If it enhances our power to say we have the universe or God backing us up, use that belief as strength. Ultimately, since we are the only thinker in our minds, the voices or feelings we get when communicating with deities stem from our perceptions. Shakti Gawain says that we are all channels for the universal energy to work through our forms. She talks about this cosmic web as a symphony orchestra, where in order for us to create harmony, we must be true to our uniqueness. Louise Hay makes it clear with, we always have a choice. Unfairly, we may not be aware of our choices due to acute programming. Since our worlds are a reflection of ourselves, and quite similarly, the universe also works for us, we are always in charge. One way we can start to open up our view is by asking yourself to be open and receptive. We can do this in affirmation form by affirming, I am open and receptive, or whatever affirmation resonates with you. As I mentioned, some of us find power in light workers. Maybe you remember, in order for the angels to help us, we must ask for them to intervene. An experience I'm going through now is because I asked for that help. Recently, I remembered that shortly before this impactful event, I was writing to the angels asking for their assistance. If I'd only remembered my asking at the time of the event, I may have made better choices to support their direction. Instead, I created a catastrophe of events where I was blind to the real issue that had always been inside myself. The truth of the matter was that I was denying my true feelings, so through the events that occurred rapidly after I directly asked for help, I was shown my reflection veiled from my understanding. In retrospect, I can see now that even in the beginning of this dramatic life change, I was shown red flags and I chose to ignore them. In the following chapters, I'll expand on identifying red flags using other terms. In most of my realizations, the subtlest things hold the most value. In this case, many of us forget, even though an individual holds the weight of creating one's reality, we are always working in a web of interconnectedness. Some people call this collected consciousness. At times, we can create the feelings inside, having us think there is no way out. However, I must repeat, like Louise Hay says, we always have a choice, and we are the only thinker in our minds. What I'm getting at is, we can make the changes in our environment to support our intentions. That if we surround and or infuse ourselves with negative energy, recognizing the drain, building up our belief in possibilities, and taking action steps to alleviate this condition is our aptitude. My point is, we create our reality. Surrounding ourselves with co-creators will ultimately enhance our productivity, because when we are surrounded by repetitious negativity, it's only a custom that we absorb it. If we are able to remove negativity from our lives and it keeps showing up, it may be something to look at more closely, because our inner reflects our outer. We are in control. Tony Carmen Soleno says, "You do not have to run away from the world in order to find peace, for the true peace is inside you. It is through our own relationships with others that we learn more about our own character. From a higher perspective, everyone we encounter is a reflection of ourselves, and the universe has placed around us things that will help us expand our love and tolerance. We meet people we like and people we dislike. When we see what we consider to be positive traits in others, we align with these characteristics because we believe them to be good. Yet when we see what we consider to be negative aspects in others' characters, we refuse to see those same traits in ourselves because we judge them as bad. Yet the truth is that we have each trait within us, either currently or in the past. Otherwise, we would not be able to recognize those traits in another. Aspects of us to master them in order to feel peace and let go of our nitpicking quirks. Chapter 2, T&E Truth. The first way we can begin to create our surroundings is by being proud to ourselves. When I was first introduced to the term true to yourself, I wondered what that meant. I questioned that if I lied to someone, was I lying to myself? My insight was that it depended on the very nature of the lie, and that the most important lies were subtlest. An important lie is one that you say because you think it is going to help someone else feel good. In other terms, the other type of lies are ones that don't directly affect others, and you believe they benefit you. Some people call them white lies. The most important lies are ones that have both definitions included. Trickiest of all are lies that we actually believe. What needs to be heeded is when we lie to make others feel good. This is the hugest way we lie to ourselves. Not only do we have another person tricked, they're now helping to create a reality that does not coexist with what we truly want. The other person suffers because they are lead on, and you suffer. By living in two different realities, although the truth eventually becomes revealed, everyone would benefit if we were honest from the beginning. Sometimes we are fooled to think lies will help, or that they will hold off situations from occurring until we feel we can support the truth. Lying is always risky business, and can create anxiety no matter what type of lies we tell, and whether we are caught, or everyone is affected. It is said that when we stop lying to ourselves, others stop lying to us. Where does your lying balance lie? On a more personal note, being true to ourselves involves making commitments to the things that matter to us. It is instinctive for some of us to put others' needs before our own. More often, we put a lot of weight on the opinions of others. Sometimes this is so first-hand we actually think their needs and thoughts are ours to tend to. Civilization uses this trigger as a means to keep its function. When we feel needed, we feel obligated and important. But what is our true inner voice saying amongst the frontal chatter? Learning how to tune out others' opinions, perspectives, and recommendations is a helpful tool to establish knowing who you are. This is your life and your experiences. Your choices are only for you to decide. It is not that we purposely ignore our inner yearnings, but that we have not been able to separate them from outside influences. In fact, most of us habitually look outside of ourselves for validation that what we are doing is right. Sadly, this is how we were raised. Some children enjoy how much energy currency is created from doing the wrong thing. We get older, sometimes we grow out of the attention-seeking behavior and do what we need to have things run smoothly. It's a difficult custom to a first-hand response of going with your intuition. Somehow logic always sneaks in to redirect us that logic is logic, and sometimes it may not be an outside influence at all, but you. For instance, last night I was walking to a store that my memory was saying the number of the address was in the hundreds. When I saw that the numbers were going up at 200, I turned my direction around. My intuition was saying that all the shops were in the other direction, and the way I was walking looked fairly dead, turning into residential addresses. When I asked a stranger to validate the address of the shop for me using their smartphone, they told me it was in the 400s. To help determine logic from intuition using the example above, my logic was actually an illusion that turned me in the opposite direction. When I went outside of myself for validation, I know now, if I tuned in, I already knew the answer. I may not have remembered the exact address, but I did know what direction would ultimately lead me to where I wanted to go. Judging my experience last night, I know what state of mind I was in. I was a bit frantic. I had some anxiety and I was not relaxed. I look at this experience as a building block to understand that sometimes I just need to relax, sometimes I can fool myself. Some use outside influence as a strength to provide for themselves. Why is it easier to cook and clean for guests than it is to do for us alone? We've got to make ourselves just as important as anyone else. Some use selfishness as an avoided term, leading them to always taking care of others before themselves. They don't want to be selfish. In a parenting class I took, One of our mottos was we can only take care of our children as we can take care of ourselves. Some members would opic of their parents starving themselves to feed them. Maybe this is an unhealthy mechanism we've adapted. If our parents did not eat, they may die, and then who will feed us? Parents are needed to regulate children's emotions and set examples. When parents use the motto, "Do as I say, not as I do," this gives kids mixed messages, and unconsciously they may default to their parents' behaviors when they are faced with the same stress as adults. What we need to do now is make our behaviors acceptable to ourselves. When we feel guilty about our actions, that means we are not being true to us. Children can be great teachers in this because we become more sensitive to the behaviors we actually dislike about ourselves. It is not selfish to care for our own self first. In fact, everything flows smoother and quicker. There's a difference between going with the flow and doing things because it's just ethical. For instance, one day I found my own support in going to the grocery store. In being thoughtful, I decided to ask my neighbor if he wanted me to pick anything up for him. I did this to be nice, because he always bashed me in being selfish, and he did things for me now and then. His spelling stirred energy in me that was fear-based. Due to my fear or screaming objective voice inside, I brought him back all the items he requested. Looking at my actions objectively, I did not need to do anything for him. In letting my emotions be spellbound, and probably somewhere inside thinking I shouldn't do this for him, when I returned with his items, he danced around calling me dumb. Somewhere, there was miscommunication in the exactness of one item I brought back. I got the right brand, but he wanted chicken nuggets and not fillets. He returned them at the store right afterwards. This also made me feel worthless. My analogy is, I created that situation to learn how to better respect myself. I thought I was finally doing something right. The only way one can truly be thoughtful is to think through all the possible outcomes of a generous situation before setting ourselves up for disappointment. In knowing we can never truly prepare our minds for all the possible outcomes, I have found that meditating on one without becoming too attached to it can be beneficial. The saying for the greatest and highest good is used after making an intention because something better than you have expected can come your way. But if you are too fixed on how you set your mind on events to unfold, you could be blinded from the better opportunity at hand, no matter how bad circumstances may appear at the beginning of their growth. As long as you put out a positive intention and are true to how you feel about it, your feelings will prevail. As with most things, going with the flow can be negative and positive. How to tune into what the right flow is dictates its nature. The red flags I mentioned earlier have to do with our feelings. The truth is, our rational mind can disguise any action as justifiable or malapropos, and society has contributed to our lack of self-trust with its rules. Even stopping at a red light when no cars are around, what if the light was green but cars were coming in the opposite direction? Now all of a sudden we need to use our OUW judgment. Nothing is bulletproof, except how we truly feel. We have been conditioned to look outside of ourselves for direction and approval. Using what some call intuition, or our inner knowing, is our true guidance. Since we have been dulled to its vibrancy, it takes practice to recognize what this feels like to us. Doreen Virtue, PhD, describes it as a tightening in the stomach. In my experience, I use subtle details in others' body language, and words. This makes up my perspective and judgment, leaving a feeling inside. Many argue that judgment is had, they want people to be open. While vulnerability can be healthy in certain situations, I say there's a difference between judging by stereotyping and judging by our experiences. We don't need much experience to determine whether the so-called stereotype is true or not. The fact we have stereotypes is a foretelling format in itself because it gives us the apparent opportunity to analyze. Reaching back to expressing how our environment impacts our reality, the rarity that stereotypes don't hold true has to do with the stereotyped individual's self-growth. If we take an individual out of its group and place them in another circumstance, that's their true test. Some people are like chameleons, changing rapidly to blend in. Depending on the nature of their expansion, they may be gathering aspects of themselves. Fundamentally, using and judging our feelings as stop or go instructions constitute self-respect. Our logic mind will argue that if something did not work out and we were rejected, it was not supposed to happen. As with many areas of our life, we need moderation balance because we also do not want to overwork ourselves either. Mary Kay talks of failing forward. From our experiences, we can also learn to take healthy steps toward our dreams. Stepping out of our comfort zone will always keep us growing. One motto all over the world is never give up. In all honesty, in real awareness, there is righteousness in giving up. Many people give up out of low self-esteem, selfishness, protection, and so forth. This type of rejection is not righteous. I must highlight the caution in alternating logic and premonition. The logic mind is always bickering with rules or excuses. We have been taught to give people chances, but here's an example for you. One time I had a court-appointed lawyer who I tried contacting before my court date and received no answer or reply. My feeling about this was that I did not want her representation because she obviously did not have the time for me. To back up my feelings, I wrote my own legal agreement for her to sign to comply with my request. Upon presenting this to her, she explained I needed her to follow the court's rules and order. Feeling as though she was smarter than me in the court of law, I forfeited my intentions and went with her logic. In continuing our relationship, I continued becoming disappointed because she was not on top of my stuff. The last straw was when my partner's lawyer emailed me the court results a week before my lawyer even got to it. Doreen Virtue puts it together nicely in explaining that as nice people, we tend to give in to a potential and tune out our initial judgments. This leaves room for chance and changing capabilities. But this accustomed apparatus is an unhealthy risk when our happiness stems from our ability to honor ourselves. No matter what choices we make, we still can only blame ourselves for deciding what notions to follow. We can find comfort in this when we can relax knowing we can take care of ourselves. Before making decisions, think about if only you can handle whatever it is, that way you are prepared for any outcome. Being thoughtful about our range and needs combats spontaneous actions of others interfering with our desires. My example is I have to eat snacks if my partner and I are going to cook together. It takes his time cooking and I cook when I am hungry. I may become irritable when I'm hungry because my basic needs are not met. So for things to flow smoothly, I need to make sure I take care of myself first. A favorable attendant to advance in interpreting yourself can be known as quiet time. Quiet time can be done while being still or active. Some people may find noisy atmospheres to be comforting, and others may find silent solitude to be alleviating. Whether sitting or walking, laying or exercising, you have got to find your individual technique for reflection and make it a date with yourself. This remedy bestows the capacity that could stay lethargically concealed if unexplored. If you are a stranger to quiet time, try practicing in 5-minute intervals, where you turn your phone on silent and give yourself space to attract new ideas, work through emotions, or focus on preparation for desired results. When I take my quiet time, I may not plan to do anything specific and go where my mind takes me, trusting my inner guidance will conjure up what needs my attention most at that given time. This may be an effective method when it comes to working through emotions, sparking insight and gathering motivational action steps. When it comes to focus, we may actually need to consciously choose and plan. Preparation components may include the what-ifs we have tended to stray from. Ralph Smart says that although what you focus on grows, what you don't focus on grows even larger. Thinking about what could happen can help you prepare your responses instead of unthought-out reactions that do not align with your goal. This also helps us be open and not fixed on our desired result. When we trust ourselves, we've got to know our desire is flourishing, and so we must confidently handle situations that may conflict with that by understanding things are not always as they seem. However, that is a fine line reverting back my mention of avoiding lying to ourselves, which I will help clear up in a later chapter. When we are faced with the outcome we are not expecting, pause. Noticing that anxiety may be rising, take a few deep breaths and try to relax. No matter how frustrating it may be not to jump, I have found that it is okay to let go. The times I have reacted instantly, I have found either things were not how I perceived, or I was making moves that did not resonate with my desires. Many people talk about the fact that no one can take away our power, unless we allow them to. Although acutely accurate to further stabilize, cash continuance avails our competence to contest our habits of emotional reaction and value importance. Chapter 3: Awareness. A great concept proposed by Harold W. Percival is the focus upon distinguishing the parts of oneself. Although the mind has many parts and labels, identifying its separateness from the body is prime. Harold conveys mind as the thinker, spirit as the personality, and body as the vessel. It seems the Trinity is present in volumes of concepts. When I was in high school, I wrote a rap that included, "What you say, think, and do are 3 different things, and they need to be the same, and they need to be the same. Don't let them sway freely and change, but think deeply, rearrange. Don't play yourself. You aren't a game." This is a chief abstraction to review in regards to your truth. However, what I did not add to my rap to make the Trinity a tetrality is what we feel. Feeling is different from fact, but the relationship to the Trinity involving the metamorphosis from feeling to thinking to doing can be altered for the better by obtaining the most clear and concrete facts we can before allowing ourselves to begin transforming. Examining the stages of our reality metamorphosis is essential to maintain their unity, or dysfunctions will unfold due to our universal laws. I think the main goal of the universe is harmony, so when that higher order sees the discord between our stages of reality, it tries its best to convey them to us using reality, so that we can make the necessary internal and/or external changes needed to work in unity with the greatest, highest good. Yin-yang. Harold says there's a difference between feeling and desire, that women are driven by feeling and men desire. He also mentions how feeling is not a factual, scientifically based sense because the only unit to perceive that sense is the body, not a distinct instrument such as eyes, ears, nose, or mouth. Harold also relays that feeling and desire work collectively. I say desire comes from the mind thinking about what the body can feel, whereas feeling first relates to desire by having a feeling in the body followed by thinking of the desire. Whichever sequence CAC leads us to pursue and create. As with any sense, it comes down to individuality for perception and/or preference. Even though most women are feeling driven, men and women take the same amount of time to control emotions. In fact, neither is better than the other or easier to counteract. Each sex battles the back and forth between their thoughts and feelings. Women feel, let go, then think, then feel, let go, and think men the opposite by thinking, feeling, then letting go. The fact for both sexes is that once we are in the feeling mode, we tend to lose control and potentially act impulsively. Men can try to override their feelings by making their thoughts more powerful. What men understand is that if their thinking is strong, they do not need to feel their feelings, and that is where the unhealthy balance begins. Each sex will always feel. The difference is, after a woman feels, she can attempt to use her thinking to hide emotions to try to keep from feeling more. Each struggle is absolutely unhealthy, because we are not being honest and expressing our truth, and it doesn't even work, however. This is why men seem to be stronger and women weaker emotionally. A reason why it is stereotypical that women like drama is because drama is all feeling-based. Women may feel jealousy, act, and then think about their actions. Men may think, I don't want this guy to take my girl, then they feel and act. It may be harder for men to apologize because they may not think about their actions after they add, but have a new thought instead. Since a woman's cycle involves thinking in her first trinity, she can easily think about her actions right away. This is why it is challenging to understand each other. Each sex wants instant gratification in different areas. Men want women to think when women are feeling and women to act when the man is feeling. Although women want the same, we are always in a different mode of the trinity than the other. This is also what makes us attracted to one another. Think about it, women find men attractive when they are thinking, and men find women attractive when they are acting. Likewise, this is reversely authentic. To explain further, if a woman is talking, a man may zone out in his feeling mode. When a man is quiet, a woman feels and wants his attention. This is the yin-yang concept of opposites attract. Although we may have trouble understanding where each of us is in our cycles, we are constantly balancing our energies when we interact. Each sex needs to respect the other by giving them enough time to process their individual reality metamorphosis. Additionally, everyone processes this trinity at his or her own pace. Men think, feel, act. Women feel, act, think. That's also why men can manipulate women easier or first. Each cycle is almost the same when repeated, but still very different. Our similarities are that each sex is feeling before they act. However our natures were created, we can never solely think before we act as we are instructed by cliches. This was an attempt to balance our actions. Working hard with awareness and taking control of our feelings by thinking about them again before acting is a good idea to work on, and also a battle. Resorting back to our truths. The focus here for both sexes is in thought, because ultimately we both think. Regardless on the pattern in which we think and feel, our power is in thought. Learning how to manage our thoughts is the only key to controlling our emotions. Remember, made it clear that the body is not a distinct instrument, that it is only a vessel. The only thing that allows our body to have life is our mind. Even when a person is hospitalized in a way that they cannot use their spirit personality, when their brain is still active, they are considered alive and their body functions. Although listening to the signals our body provides can help us care for our body, our mind is in the control seat. Prospectively, along with Harold's outlook on senses, he notes that it is not the cars that classify what they hear. Like all of our senses, they are what our minds tell us. It is our amenability to be authoritative with our apperceptions. Thinking closer, we must believe in the power of intention. Everything begins with a single thought. Whether we decide the thought is goal for us or not, it is still a seed. Watering seeds helps them grow, right? Some fertilizers include affirmations and visualizations. These fertilizers can be used in negative and positive ways. Complaining is an example of negative affirmations. Our thoughts can be words or images, so sometimes we can think the worst and expect the best. This is contrasting and ineffective without a strong focal point. They say, for every one negative thought, we would need to think few positive thoughts to create balance. This concludes that negativity carries a lot of weight. Think about this. When you decide to feel depressed, don't you feel a heavy feeling, and sometimes we catch ourselves curled up in a ball? Another example is when we do get ourselves into a negative emotional state. Usually, it takes much longer to regain our happiness than it takes us to slip into negativity. Some could articulate that it's our brain chemistry that causes this. As animals, we have a natural defense mechanism. How one's mechanism may react depends on their perspective and processing speed. The fact we want to be labeled humans means we have the capacity to shift unconscious reactions to conscious responses. Understanding our nature makes this possible by becoming aware. Mind tricks. The tyrant mind will advise you what it thinks is logical, given what it can see from your outside world or what it thinks is right. However, inside is where the infinity of possibilities exist and the truth. Letting your tyrant talk, but not binding to its spelling, is an essential part to master your self-respect. Convolutedly, your ego also voices opinions in your mind that are more rebellic. One of the most common ego tactics is cutting off your nose to spite your face. That's the saying my mom used with me when I was a girl. It means that you are making decisions that you do not really like in attempts to hurt another person because you felt they hurt you. This cosmetic activity is not something we should be responsible for. It circles back to, what you give out comes back to you. Most importantly, everything is only perspective. So whether you think a person did something on purpose to hurt you or not, it's only a perception unless the person admits to it. If someone did do something on purpose to hurt you, it may have only been because they perceived that something you did hurt them. Continuing this cycle does not get us anywhere. It is inevitable. Changes begin with recognition. Despairingly, awareness alone does not retrieve our end goals. With intention, belief, drive, and techniques, infinite attainability advances. Auto-response. When true wisdom stands the test of time, never overnight, we are to truly realize how to understand the expansion in respecting ourselves. Not only is society using us as tools, we all have our own mind molds that dictate our responses. It is natural that we are unconsciously reaching into our memory banks in every situation we face. We are responding from our subconscious as our brains make connections to similarities we may never remember from events that began in our childhood, or from events we can remember if we choose to analyze our response patterns. We can help ourselves begin to understand ourselves in this way is by journaling our days. The best way to organize this is to cut out paragraphs from highlighted reactions responses and categorize them. Maybe one category would be heated conversations. Using another notebook, you can paste all your situations relating to that category to analyze. If you have been having similar responses, actively choose different ones. Contrarily, if you have been responding differently, analyze which outcomes you enjoyed, then decide to consciously make the responses that have brought you the most fulfillment and work on strengthening those. After a month, you may have discovered areas you want to work on. Going forward, you could dedicate your writing to those situations and skip on the lengthy entries of your whole days. Chapter 4. Labels. Understanding how to stop letting spelling or words create the energy within us is an awareness that can provide protection from outer influences and also a favored strength to becoming a warrior of your emotions. Not responding to words, especially ones that are not even our own, is a powerful step in combating the matrix around us. Intertwiningly, changing our beliefs about words can separate our emotions attached to them. Let's just say you are in a relationship that you feel trapped in. This person is calling you names that you do not like. You could work around this by associating those words with fabulous meanings. Making collages can help enhance your reprogramming by using the imagery. Say this person is calling you worthless. Try pairing that word with hundreds of $100 bills. After focusing on this association and meditating on your new idea, you may laugh when that person is calling you worthless, because you know what it means to you. You may think, I know what worthless is, that's hundreds of $100 bills, and that's a compliment, thanks. The most important thing in life is always you because you need you to experience anything else you deem important. A tactic I used to use myself when cutting of my nose to spite my face was when I called myself stupid. Out loud to another person, I would repeat in my head over and over, I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart. Using this approach when you hear yourself or others say things you disagree with allows you to separate your mind from negativity. It also allows that other voice or person a chance to be with his or her own judgments. We cannot rush a person who is not ready to see things our way. When they believe themselves fully enough to externalize their thoughts using words, basically they're completing a process in their internalization by externalizing. Next, it will take time after the exhaust to level back down to the feeling or thinking mode to process their reality. Less stress for you to try and prove yourself to someone else who will continue to have that perspective anyway until they see different actions. The best thing for us to do is work on ourselves and give others space, not our defenses. This means acknowledging others' perspectives and explaining ours when we are fully confident the other people have consciously received our acknowledgement. When sure the atmosphere is calm and we are calm, expressing our perspectives can be helpful if we can find the right language to support touchy subjects. If something you or others say toward you does not feel good, work on building up your confidence and making decisions that counteract that judgment. Remember not to look for others to approve your changes. Can see your progress? Only your opinion matters. Others' perceptions can be taken into consideration, but if they are looking to see the changes you made, they will see them. Another part to our thinking is that we look for. Just because you can build up your confidence does not mean it is okay to use it to put others down. This inner strength is to help you feel positive and use that positivity to create your desires. I've mentioned the world being a reflection of us, and like Louise Hay says, what you give out comes back to you. It is one of the basic rules in life. Question deeper. In our language, extended from timeless generations, we conditionally use idioms sometimes without even understanding their representations or history. As with society's projections, our personal, external, and internal language affects our energy. Learning to be aware and listen to these voices will open us up to digging deeper. If we want to be positive, analyzing our dialogues and pondering ways to rephrase statements, or asking ourselves why we are thinking what we're thinking, will begin the shift to take us there. For instance, something happens where in your mind you are saying, "She's a bitch." Finding out why you are thinking this can help you to express your feelings more constructively instead of internalizing. Internalizing only causes stress and further mind bickering that is unnecessary when addressed properly. "Excuse me," you may say, "I felt ignored and invisible when you cut me in line. You know, I do need to be somewhere and I was here before you. Do you mind if you check out after me, please?" Not only are you respecting yourself, you will also help the other person by expressing your perspective, because others may end up having the same thoughts about this person too. When doing so, the way the person responds should not affect you further, for if they are not open to your perspective, or you have used the wrong spelling, then they are not ready to grow or receive this as guidance. Just know, you have served your purpose, and now, that is one less situation you need to hold inside of you. If the example comes from a judgment and your internal dialogue says, "She's stuck up," you may decide to think logically about this and say, "I don't even know her, nor have I ever even spoken to this lady." Deciding to change your thoughts about others and yourself is a good idea. Changing our word, thoughts, is a healthy start, maybe picking a whole different internal statement to say about, "This lady can work," like, "She's beautiful." Doesn't that just feel better? Turning negative affirmations to positive ones and tuning into the peace associated with using positive words is a form of daily conscious meditation. When you feel the rush of emotion that is contrary of positive and decide to take a deep breath, it is close to the same concept. This is also a form of grounding, no matter how whimsical it may feel if you are a beginner. Try focusing on that clinkered feeling until you can relax into the feeling of the new positive words you are saying. Change can always feel uncomfortable at first, but the only consistent thing in life is change. If when you look in the mirror you say, "Look at this fat body, you've got to do a lot of work," before you can accept yourself saying, "Look at this beautiful body," with love and appreciation. Regardless of what you see in the physical, the magic in life is mastering the understanding that it's all about the vibe, as Clifford Davis would say in his advertisements promoting his music. If you can accept the physical as a feel-good energy, then what you think about will come about. If when you look at your body and feel what you say is disgusting because of what you see, try working outside of yourself first. I say, there's always a distinct path that can only be discovered by the walker. In other words, just because I talk about change needing to start with you, there are ways to use our outer reflections to derive ourselves back to the cause in this instance. Try looking at other women or men who may be perceived to be fat, and calling them beautiful. Shifting your belief about beauty can develop in this way because is only an idea and has been fastened in most of society that fat is ugly. This is what society wants us to believe. We are free again. We are the only thinkers in our minds. Let's elicit love in our perspectives and let go of the conditioned stress. Grouping. When our world can truly understand everything is individuality, we can support our needs with the most respect. Everywhere we seem to go, we are constantly being judged. I feel like since there are so many of us, it's easier for people to put us in categories and make decisions based on a group. Problem with this setup, not only do we feel we have to be a certain way or something is wrong with us, it is almost as if no one is getting a fair chance. It is almost as if society has been looking to answer the whys in the world for so long. They make up filler fables as placeholders until someone may actually be able to factually prove something. If things are never proven, the fable will remain as the dependent and help society feel safe. Either way, proven or fable, each concept is only an idea. Whoever is conducting experiments still holds a personal perspective that may not be identified the same by everyone. This is especially true when researchers are looking for the results they want to see. I have found that there are many reasons why we only get one-sided stories, and since they may not be on our to-do list to look up, we just believe it. One reason may be the money that is used to have us controlled in many ways. In researching marijuana use during pregnancy, I found that there has been significant research done where experiments find there are positive effects on children, such as increased IQ. The experiment I watched revealed that they were unable to continue researching further development of the children because they needed more money. This may have been where I heard that the researchers having the money dismissed any evidence that proved contrary to their position. To sync, this goes along with my presentation of how we create our reality. We choose what to see and what to dismiss, always. New language. A fun creative way to use spelling is breaking down words. We've been taught it is polite to say, "Bless you," when a person sneezes. I believe this originated from people thinking we were sneezing at the devil. When I break down the phrase, "be less you," I can decide, I do not like this spelling. I could think people who sneeze are losing a part of themselves and people are assuring them to be less of who they are. Questioning why we even use that term when we do not sneeze can raise my awareness. Think about when people say bless you in other situations. What comes to my mind is someone on their knees and the person saying it is standing aboard them, maybe touching their shoulder. To counteract this conditioned phrase, I could choose to say, be more you, and begin raising people's confidence. Whatever you choose, know it is okay to be different, and a pioneer for making our world a better place step by step. Being different takes confidence, but so does standing up for and respecting ourselves. Practice may not make perfect, but it sure strengthens our comfort around using our efforts and therefore helps us move forward. Making up our own sayings and new words is a safe thing to do. We may need to explain ourselves, so maybe developing a personal dictionary could be a choice. I'm the type of person who is not a fan of repeating myself, so the dictionary is definitely a tool I'm developing for my personal spelling. In fact, I have included a dictionary in the back of this book for the new words I've used in this book. That way, if you question the authenticity of a word, I'm sure you can find it there. Chapter 5th, Currency. Since money is the general conscious current that barricades or animates our civilization, it is basic that we deduce a philosophy that exempts us from its containment. I believe society has maintained money's function to keep civil order. This began in ancient times with trading, whether goods for goods or services for services, or something in between. Some type of exchange has been used that is somewhat tangible. Behavior converted from this concept has made people feel like they need to repay other people for their kindness or harshness. People's perceptional judgments upon others are not righteous, and not responsibility we should adapt. When we focus on ourselves, not only are we able to release these kinds of weights, the more light and free we become, and the easier it is to uphold our individual currency. I have decided that I am going to make this book donation-based from a non-profit organization. In the past, I was all about doubling my money for products I made. The problem was, I forgot about my true purpose. So focused on making a living with my talents, I focused on making myself worthy of receiving good pay for my product services. Looking at things differently now, what matters most to me is my message and spreading it. Reality is, I'm not going to survive off of selling a book or a CD for $10. However, if I can share and give my talents from my heart, I leave it up to the universe to see my good. Not putting a price on my talents is much more respectful and appreciated than limiting and expecting. That way I can give more, and the more people who know about me, the better chances I have for people just wanting to give because they see what I am doing. Stuff. Everything is energy interacting with energy. Probably Ralph Smart said that, but it's true. Everything in our physical world holds energy. When we have piles of old things lying around, they represent old energy. Many people hold on to things for sentimental reasons, but a lot of us hold on to things out of scarcity thinking as well. Some suggest moving their furniture around often or trying to take a different way to work to shake things up. We have got to do something to help us create new experiences. Action using physical things can really show the universe you mean business. I have heard stories including people not knowing how they would accomplish things, but did what they could to make a difference in their energy, and the rest just followed magically. One lady insisted on moving and packed up her house in boxes when she had no place to go. By manipulating what we can of the energy available to us, we can always act in the now for our desires. Breathing. Ilchi Lee emphasizes the eminence of breathing in his book Human Technology. Neglectful that our respiratory system breathes for us robotically, many of us fail to breathe consciously. If we take the time to breathe consciously on a daily basis, we can start to reprogram our breathing. Breathing is what keeps us alive, and we can start full breath by breathing out fully first. It is almost like a life principle. Shakti Gawain and Wayne Dyer talked about the power in giving away. Releasing in general creates the vacuum effect, where balance is maintained. When focusing on an out breath and squeezing all the air out of you, it is automatic that you take a nice deep breath in. The same goes for donating things you do not use. I believe it was Louise Hay who said, "If you haven't used it in over a year, it's time to move on." Let's not make this statement be true for our breathing. It is said that breathing regenerates us, brining in positivity and releasing negativity. Harold Percival writes that using both nostrils is a neutral breath where the right is negative and left is positive. Ilchi Lee writes about 4 stages of breathing: stomach breathing, chest breathing, shoulder breathing, and the shallowest, neck breathing. The deepest and most efficient is stomach breathing. My basic principle throughout this book is that what we picture in our minds and feel with our hearts we can make real. My idea about breath is in containing 3 main chambers. A stomach breath keeps us grounded and relaxed. In chest breathing there may be anxiety, and neck breathing fear. I breathe through all chambers consciously to clear them and circulate the energy. In starting with my stomach, I circle breath through each chamber and create an elliptical movement with in and out breaths. Yoga can teach us to put one hand on our stomach and one on our heart. Just feel what your breath does, and then consciously direct it to fill your stomach first. Then your chest, shoulders, and neck yoga can challenge us to then breath out oppositely. Ilchi Lee talks about the energy current in the body being cold rising up our backs over our head and warm moving down our chests. This view can be implemented into our conscious breathing. Yoga teaches many different kinds of breathing that involve holding different sides of the nostrils and counting before breaths. I think practicing any type of conscious breathing is beneficial. In being creative and trusting your own energy flow, you could make up your own way of breathing that suits you best. Ilchi asks readers to think of how they breathe when experiencing different emotions. In with the new, out with the old, we release negativity and energize our bodies with positive fresh air. Every time we breathe. Even though we can't always see our breath, it is always energy. Breath is so basic, a primary nutrition for our form. It's a good place to focus on at any time we can remember. Ilchi informs us that in our breath alone, we can make tremendous effects with our health. If you would like to implement breathing to assist your overall health and currency, you can begin with a minimum of 15 minutes each day breathing consciously in any way you like. This could be as simple as just being aware of your breathing for your dedicated length of time. Chakra. One of the first spiritual things I learned about was about our chakras. My mother actually taught me how to clean them. As I grew, I wanted to learn more and found out there are probably an infinite amount of chakras. All we have to do to create them is visualize their presence and meaning and work with them. I personally can't physically see auras or chakras, but that doesn't stop me from working with them. Of what I found documented when I was deeply into chakras was that there are 36. Most commonly worked with are our basic 7. They say they range from red to purple in rainbow sequence, and the 7th at the crown of our heads is white or clear. I think it's important to sense what color your chakras are the best you can. They may be similar, but could have their own defined shade, especially if neglected for quite some time. It may take extra long to clean them if you are just starting out. How do you know how long it takes to clean each one? This is what I'm talking about. It is a feeling you've got to tune into and trust. To get started, you can find guided meditations to help clean, balance, and heal your basic chakras on YouTube. 2 of the most important chakras, aside from our basic 7 out of the 36 that I still work with, are the chakra at the bottom of our feet and the ones on the palms of our feet and hands. Within the 36, there were also 3 located before our crown chakra, aside from the widely known 7. The one at the base of our feet is a brown and green color. This is our root. It stems to the center of the earth and helps to ground us. Focusing on this chakra, pulling our energy into the red core of the earth, is a good place to focus on any time we can remember during our times of confusion. The chakras located on our palms and soles are said to be a light pink color. We can send energy from these centers, including our third eye. Before the crown chakra, there is an indigo-colored chakra right on top of our heads. A few inches above our head is a silver chakra. Above that, a gold one, and then our crown chakra glows. First picture them spinning counterclockwise like discs, and my spine is in their center. Some say that we have front and back chakras. In my focus on connecting them into one, focusing with this counterclockwise motion with my hands and feet flat on the floor or surface, I drain my chakras. All their energy and color flows through my hands and feet and is directed into the earth to transform it. Once all my chakras are clear in color and they're spinning still, I begin refilling them. Many teachers start working chakra by chakra, beginning from the root chakra or bottom and moving toward the head or crown. I also follow this pattern. In a chakra mediation led by Doreen Virtue, she uses cleansing sea salt air by using the image of sea mist entering the body through the breath. This can be a beneficial cleansing mechanism, along with Sarah Hall's imagery of breathing in sage. Widely used is the image of white light to purify our energy. Breathing in white light is one way to imagine it entering our bodies, another way is to imagine it pouring from the heavens and entering through the top of our heads. When refilling, I spin them clockwise. I picture real objects in nature that relate to their color, and I soak up that energy into each one until they have a steady spin and feel full. I like to use objects that can really feed my imagination with wondrous colors related to each chakra. Starting at the base chakra, I may think of a perfect red apple and breathe in the color from my mind, sending it into a clockwise swirling disc, basking while feeling the energy expand. Depending on you, depends on how big you want your chakras to extend. As a limitless being, I extend them infinitely, around the world and into the universe. When tuning into your chakras, I say you are the true guide to deciding what colors each of your chakras really are. The most important thing to notice is if they are dull. Using the visuals in your mind that you can clearly picture can help to strengthen their color. Meditating on each chakra until your mind can faithfully see and feel the color is vibrant will help to strengthen your energy. The other aspect about chakras is tuning into their vibration. Feeling the pace and steadiness of their movement is the key to balancing them. Finding a momentum that appeals to you is the fundamental principle. After my chakra regeneration, I also tune into my aura. I clean its rainbowed layers just with my focus. You can visualize sage smoke or white light doing the clearing as well. Next, I expand my energy field. I picture all the invisible computer-like networking and make collective connections further out on my grid. To complete, I use a concept given from Divine Mother. She suggests using a double helix spiral of gold energy around you. One circle extends up and one extends down, protecting you. Doreen suggests making a shield that lets in love but not negativity. There are a lot of ways we can tune into our personal energy, from moving physical items, breathing, working with chakras, and the next subjects to focus. The fact remains that we have currency, and we can strengthen it the more we use these ideas. Exercising. Exercising moves a lot of energy around and can transfer our negative energy into endorphins. When we boil water and it transfers steam, the matter becomes light and clear. Always relate your body, since we are made up of so much of it. Anytime we can heat up our bodies safely, we too become lighter and clear. Our whole vibration can be tuned to a higher frequency. It is also said that what we attract. When we burn negative energy, it helps to calm us because adrenaline is our response to stress. In stemming from our emotions, adrenaline is based in our body's ability to feel. When we transform adrenaline to endorphins, it strengthens our mind, since endorphins react with the brain's opiate receptors. This is a healthy balance, because when adrenaline can be used, we are not hiding our feelings and are acting them out constructively. Adrenaline can be a toxin these days, since society has rules around circumstances in order to keep the peace. The rules of our government created legal ways to deal with shortcomings, and if they can't fix it, we have got to let it go. After exercising, our bodies automatically feel relaxed because we have taken care of our emotions in this way. This leaves us room to focus on our true thoughtful feelings and not overreact compulsively. From this sense of grounding, we can take our next steps. Healthy. Our energy currency directly affects our health. Think about it, someone in good health is usually positive. Positive people have welcoming energy. Positivity is like peace. It is at ease, balanced in excitement. It is not a person's health that makes them negative or positive. It is their underlying emotions. Of course, balancing our reality metamorphosis is ideal and connected to our health, because our health is yet another reflection of inside of us. A direct reflection of our tendencies to neglect self-care results in our health. When we ignore our body's subtle indications for love and care, our bodies scream louder. Sometimes our bodies can get so bad that we need to take medicine in order to numb our feelings and get back to focusing on our minds. Too much medication can not only numb our feelings but also our minds, since they are part of our bodies. This is when life, as we know it, can deteriorate when the hope of regaining true consciousness is lost. Many subjects of medicine feel manipulating our feelings allows our minds to heal by thinking it is healed. This furthermore, for deeper illnesses, serious mental work needs to be done while on medication to actually heal. This includes surgery intervention. The trick is that medication surgery tricks our minds into thinking we are healed and may not actually cure our underlying mental issue. This results in dependency to medication and/or our doctors, since it is easy for a not to do the work. Just looking at our individual objectives is a struggle for most without including how to fix them. Harold Percival writes about certain illnesses being brought from life to life until we can mentally cure them. He mentions that in most cases cancer develops from repressing sexual desires. Louise Hay has a basic guideline of what certain illnesses represent mentally, and includes affirmations to help alleviate them in her book, You Can Heal Your Life. Harold and Louise Hay write about surgeries and other medicines fixing the most apparent diseases, and that when we do not mentally cure them, they either develop again in the same way, or appear as a different illness or disease. What's important is that each negative and positive about us is something to be valued, in hopes that we can truly learn to love our well-being. This mental work may involve caring for the body better. Due to the progression of civilization, most of us are on the go, poor, and on the go is not the best unless we make the time to prepare enough meals to fuel us until we get back home. I am not one for thinking about how I am going to feel later. Since I am female, driven by feeling first, it takes more effort to think about feeling. It is much easier to go with the flow, except when I realize later my flow has a block. Running out of fuel, my body reminds me with a growling stomach, a headache, and then negative, impatient, overwhelmed emotions that lead to negative thinking. This is not good self-care. This is also why men and women can work well together. Their minds and bodies are like perfect puzzle pieces. Since the man is driven by desire first, he can think about his desire for food later for himself. A woman's feeling for others causes her to think about them. Therefore, she would prepare meals for the family's day, but the strong feelings she has for others seem to not be as strong when only for herself. This is also why it seems like women are more dependent, because they need a feeling to drive them. Each sex enjoys the support of the other and brings them closer to their reality metamorphosis. Whether individual or paired, it is only us who knows best on what we need to do to take care of ourselves. The best way to take care of our bodies is again through our minds. Using our minds to decide what our bodies are telling us from the feelings it provides is a good commencement. It is now required that mental health professionals get medical backgrounds of their clients before they begin working together. When people are mentally ill, they may be subject to allowing their bodies control their minds. I am protesting with much support that our minds are the ones in control, and we can change exteriorization by balancing our inner workings and caring for our whole selves. This will keep our currency flowing. In the following chapter, I will outline details on different contributions that can influence our health, because eating, food, and exercising are not the only fuels we need. Chapter 6, Fertilize. I hope I've made it clear that our power's potential is held within our thoughts. Our feelings are also important, but at times we allow them to step too far. When our feelings step into our thoughts and we feel more negative, we can use awareness to change our thoughts. Conjunctionally, finding healthy ways to balance our feelings and thoughts can create a harmonious unity that produces intentional results. If we fail, our realities will exteriorize and reveal such. This chapter will help stabilize our feeling-thought connections by using different types of fertilizers. Food. I have heard that a man ate eggs every day and every night. Critics suggest eggs give people bad cholesterols. His was fine. I recently found out that eggs actually contain sulfur, which helps take toxins out of our bodies, especially heavy metals. Having been up and down about what I should be eating, I decided my diet is called the Intuition Diet. That means I can use my power and create my reality. I can choose how foods will affect me, based on how I choose to think about them. In knowing everybody is different, we have to be the ones to make our own judgments on how things affect us. Most earnestly, if you feel you should eat something that your logic is rejecting, try it and measure the results. If when I eat Ramon noodles I get a headache, I may decide to eat differently. Contrary. Eating Ramon noodles could get tremendous energy but may dismiss that result based on factual science. You never know what your body needs unless you listen to the subtle cues. You've got to figure out what is right for you, like when I talked about our individuality. We all have different elements to us depending on our paths in life. Food charts can help us track what foods support us best. You can eat normally and track snack and meal substances, and try tracking an hour later how you feel experiencing with foods that leave out certain ingredients can help to fine-tune this process. Using my Magic Workbook collection, you can find graphs I set up for tracking that can be beneficial. Imagination. I was riding on the bus one day, and to my surprise, a young boy was being transported. Including the bus driver, only the three of us were on the bus. The young boy reminded me how special and real our imaginations are. He kept eating imaginary ice creams and was throwing the bus driver some. The driver would catch the ice cream, pretend to eat it, and tell the boy he was going to get sick from eating so much ice cream. The young boy even made up fruit punch as his ice cream flavor. This reminded me of a time when I was a young girl. My girlfriend and I held our ice creams up to this black metal wall ornament of a woman and pretended she made our ice cream taste extra special. My experience and memories emphasize how powerful our imagination is and what an effective tool we have. No matter what, we can always have everything we want in our imagination. Real magic starts there. So if you're driving a beat-up car or even on foot, hold your head high with the confidence and feeling you would have if you are in your dream transportation. When I am on foot, I have found myself resentful of people driving by, rushing me to cross the street or having me stop at red lights. In my head, I would say things like, "You'll get there before me," or "Why are you looking at me crazy? This is my only option." Thinking about my reactions now leads me to become aware of my ego focus. And remember, I do have the power to make changes in my life by using my creative imagination. I can pretend I'm driving when I stop at red lights or rush across the street, like it is as simple as pushing the gas to speed up. This is a simple yet effective technique to use for any dream as long as you can make it feel real. As I've mentioned, our feelings are key and a useful tool to help screw in. Our feelings is definitely our imagination. With that said, be creative. Try using other sensory to enhance your vision and feeling. Many support suggest using imagery, creating collages, and using your face in them. In the car instance, you could go to a textile store and ask for a swatch or more of fabric that is how you want your interior to feel, look, and glue it in places your hands touch, or eyes look when you are in your car or out of your car. A car freshener spray can give you the feeling of new, and magazine clippings or internet print-offs can help you focus. Visualization. There are so many ways to use visualization. Of course, we can do visualization meditations, and as mentioned earlier, make collages. Visualization meditations are available online, or you could record one to follow in your mind. To clarify, you could write about your dreams or just something peaceful and then record it so you can relax and use your inner eyes. When visualizing, it's important to think about what your goal is. Some ideas include visualizing to achieve, receive in your present, to relax and let go, or even to enhance clairvoyance. Once choosing a purpose, let your imagination take you away in its limitless possibilities. One of my friends, Misha Schuler, introduced me to meditating with plants. She says each plant has a spirit, and you have to go to the underworld to meet with them. Using this approach, she gains insight from plant spirits to assist in making her herbal medicine. Misha emphasizes traveling with a protective plant. Whenever practicing spiritual endeavors, it's a good idea to find a spirit guide, and you can find meditations to help you meet one of yours. Affirmations. Louise Hay says, "An affirmation is really anything we say or think. Affirmations mixed with visualization and true feelings can create real magic. After practice, things happen quicker than before." I noted earlier that it is important to pay attention to our inner dialogues and begin changing the negative statements we make. As uncomfortable as it may feel at first, this discomfort is the only barrier to begin taking control of the thinker in your mind. When you show your mind who's boss, you boost your confidence, and it is apparent on your outer levels. When we have this pride, we become more susceptible to opportunities and actively responsible for our realities. When forming positive affirmations, to be direct and simple. Most effectively, phrase instructive. Words ending in IWG can equate. Exceedingly, dismissing words like "whoa" keep declarations balanced and perceived correctly. An archetype exhibits I am fear-free in substitution of I am not scared. I don't want to go to work can translate to I am working at a place I enjoy. If you have specifics, use them. Alongside these guidelines, allowing flexibility by freeing yourself of a specified outcome is substantial. So that's the tricky part, being specific, yet trusting in the best outcome and listening to the guidance along the way. There are different ways to activate affirmations, and like most things, we learn best with repetition. The first step I took with positive affirmations was listening to Louise Hay's recordings. It is said that our subconscious minds are best receptive while our active minds are at rest. This happens when we go to sleep. Scientifically, our DNA regenerates fully every 30 days. Tying these facts together, listening to positive affirmations when going to sleep for a month is an excellent starting point. When you are ready, writing affirmations geared individually helps empower your connection to them. For me, I generated my written affirmations by making a list of everything I didn't like about myself and or my life and phrasing them positively. Reciting them in the morning while our active minds are still waking up gives room for enhanced receptibility. Remember the 7-to-1 ratio of a positive thought to a negative one. It can be strategic to focus on a few positive affirmations at a time and repeatedly write them over and over on a sheet of paper. When we use writing as a tool for positive affirmations, it aids to look at our accounts constructively. When I have used the repetitious writing method, I found that I transformed my original affirmation by advancing it to a concise and direct expression that better identified my position. Whenever we are writing, we are also thinking these testimonies. If we say them alongside, we embellish their intensity and operative nature. Furthermost, the conclusive tetrality combines visualization to the trio. This tetrality is using writing, saying, thinking, and feeling. Lastly, Louise recommends using a mirror. Mirrors are defiantly magnifying, hence looking in one creates two of you. Just think, now your tetrality is multiplied to an octalty. The last affirmation tip I recommend is using sticky notes, or taping affirmations up where you may need them. For instance, near the mirror when you get ready in the morning, in your car, or using affirmations like, I love to clean, and cleaning is easy for me, where you keep your vacuum and or cleaning supplies. As mentioned in the imagination section, really feel these statements when you see them. Meditation. I mentioned earlier that we could use our daily tasks as a form of meditation. In addition to that, there are infinite amounts of ways to make meditation beneficial for you. Like most things I highlight, it is up to you to have the dedication and drive to find what ways will work best for you, or create them. Lychee Lee says that meditation is the respiration of the brain. Divine Mother used a meditation that focuses on feeling the tension in your body. When you feel a block, smash the energy, break it in your mind. After everything is shattered completely, she suggests sending a gold liquid honey light through the top of your head and just soothing your whole body. I also like the idea of just being aware and giving your body attention. Attention equals love. Going into many details and relaxing each place feels extremely regenerating. I am talking about starting from each individual toenail, though all your organs, teeth, brain, and skull. Every detail of you needs love and attention to feel appreciated and do its best job. Mantak Chia mentions using a smiling technique in his book, Awaken Healing Energy Through the Tao, to feel the energy of your smile and send it down your body, thanking each cell for their work. He starts this meditation with 9 taps of the teeth in 9 sequences. I use this as an early morning meditation. Upon waking up, I stretch from my sit bones and attempt to touch my toes with a straight back. Most times I bend my knees a bit to get what feels like a good stretch for me. Then, I hold the stretch for 9 seconds in 9 sequences. Mantak says to massage the gums with your tongue until you feel lots of fresh saliva built up. Pausing for a sacred moment to feel a smile illuminate my face, I bask in that energy. When the energy is pure and truly felt, I swallow the smile down, feeling the energy touch different segments of my body and thanking those cells with love. A meditation teacher, Brenda the First Paquette, says, use stressful situations to remind you to relax. Relaxation. I can say relaxation is a form of meditation in itself, but its importance ranks high, so it deserved its own section. The consistent ritual I exercise is at least a weekly relaxing tub. I've been doing this since high school. In those days I was so serious about relaxation, I literally insisted on not lifting a finger on my special day. My tubs lasted around 3 hours, and if you can believe it, one of my relaxation days landed on the day I graduated high school, so I was not happy about this. There was a gathering at my grandmother's house afterwards that my mom set up, and I laid on her couch the whole time. It's definitely a tradition that I have adopted for myself to dedicate time and space for relaxation and meditation. Recently, by chance, I attended a seaweed festival in Portland, Maine. At the title, I thought it was going to be pretty lame. During my attendance, I quickly realized that this is a new age movement, turns out. Seaweed has all types of benefits to our bodies and the earth. I learned that at the rate of our food consumption and the depletion of nutrients in our soils, biologists forecast agriculture to be severed by 2070.1. They say that many thyroid diseases stem from low levels in iodine and table. Salt is the only source for our iodine. However, it is reported that seaweed is the savior ocean vegetable that can solve all our problems. It is theorized that seaweed accommodates all of our minerals and iodine is included. They are using seaweed in soils to replenish them, and are fighting to make a stance with the burden of government regulations who seem to be so rooted in tradition that New Age ideals are often outlawed. Along with our soils, implementing seaweed in our diets is also a mission. Finding different easy ways to add seaweed to our diets is in the works. Naturopathic practitioners and everyday people have found that different types of seaweed are better for distinctive health issues and report amazing cures that include shingles and acne. My reasoning for adding this info into my relaxation section is because I have begun to add seaweed into my tubs and have found it beneficial. To find out more on the benefits of seaweed and hear directly from seaweed activists, visit theseaweedkusel.org. There are relaxation meditations you can research online, but in addition, it is helpful to be mindful of when you feel overwhelmed. Even just sitting and doing nothing, wherever convenient, is a form of relaxation. Stones and crystals. Ever since I was a young girl, getting a crystal was sacred and energizing. Though my adult years, my beliefs have been criticized, and at one point I did not use my stones for maybe a year. I have found using stones and crystals can be like using your imagination or factual. Like most things I talk about, it is mind over matter. Even so, scientifically, there are earth elements and minerals that doctors using in medication. Holding the mineral can still interact with your body when it is touching your skin. In this way, it is subtle enough that it can make a difference without the negative effects drugs can have. One of the best ways I use my crystals is to put them into my long, relaxing tubs. Crystals can be like pets or children if you care for them. Like crystal balls, you can actually breathe life into them. It is almost like an empty vessel in which you program and protect. You can find out much more about crystals when you work with them, including how to charge them and clear them. When I was younger, my mom used to put hers in a crystal bowl 3 days before the full moon with sea salt and water. Oracle cards. Oracle cards can help you when you're figuring out how to follow your inner voice. These should be used as guidance and not to become dependent on. They can also give you ideas to prepare you for what is ahead, along with fuel to help understand your past and present. This is another spiritual tool my mother introduced me to. I found magic in her deck of cards and wanted to pick cards all the time. Nature. The most ancient vital energy can be found in nature. Since before humans created time, the sun would help us measure moments to aid in our accomplishments. It was not that our ancestors had more free time, it was the meditative state nature holds and the fact we had a lot more nature in those days. Our ancestors were mainly surrounded in nature all the time. They would probably die from stress and fear if they were suddenly emerged to our present. Back then, no one had to think about relaxing, because ultimately the nature surrounding them would rejuvenate their souls when they finished their daily tasks and sat in the type of silence that existed then. Now we have to work hard to find that bliss, and with our enormous population, we may only get solace for a few moments. However, with the expansions and high energy around us, we actually need a lot more than we think. One way to get in touch with more nature, Hort therapy. Getting people to garden transfers negative ions from the soil, helping to ground us once again. Create time to spend in nature, for that is where our species evolved from. The impact the natural world can have won't be understood until we track it. As Socrates referred, the unexamined life is not worth living. Let's wake up together. Action. Making decisions is a vital part of steering our wheel in life. Shakti Gawain said that the part of ourselves that take action stems from our masculinity, and our femininity aspect is that passive voice that gives us the ideas. Working harmoniously, we have got to do physical work to assist our visions. I have portrayed many resources to get started with this, are in my past passages. Making a bold title above conveys its reiterance. The last step after preparation is making measurable actions toward your desires. Cheat chapter the 7th. Conclusion. One law of nature suggests that when we force something to happen, it actually doesn't. The symbolism that illustrates in my mind was inserted from a cartoon I witnessed as a child. There was a child waking with its coat on, and the angry, controlling wind said, "I'll get this kid to take off its jacket." The harder the wind blew, the tighter the child held on its coat. Eventually, the wind became very exhausted and tired, and while it was catching its breath, the sun came out. The sun shined happily and effortlessly, and the child began to sweat and took its jacket off. Many teachers provide the technique of letting go of your desired outcome in order to free up the tense energy surrounding it. In another regard, it can be thought that maybe your desire is not the best outcome for everyone involved, and being open to the guidance moving you in other directions could be considered. Sometimes surrendering in this way shows the universe or universal energy that you are ready to receive your aspiration. Fear. Think about relationships when we hang on to someone. It arises from a fear-based energy. Unconsciously, our fear is ruling the show. In fact, fear wins every time because we allow it to. We work with fear by trying harder to have situations evolve in our favor. Letting go of control is one of the hardest things for some people to do. Using mindfulness, we can find that we strive to control from fear. Surrendering to the present moment can help us dissolve false fear that comes from past programming or future unknowns. This leads me back to the ability to trust in divine order and allow your thoughts to flow out your mind's back door. Lissa Rankin MD illustrates a cultivating courage strategy in her book, The Fear Cure. She suggests writing a letter to fear and then a responding letter from our higher self. This reminds me of how Louise Hay teaches us to heal ourselves. She says everyone has an inner child who is afraid, and many of us are not nice to this child. Many times when we hear our worries and fears, we may try to tell the voice to shut up in different ways. As suggested by these teachers, the best antidote is to be loving toward the fear or inner child by acknowledging the fear. Talking back from a divine parent-like energy can assure this worrying part of ourselves that just because things happened one way in the past, taking a new approach will keep us safe. The biggest idea here is that you are doing the best you can do, and you may have the need to continue in your current circumstances until you arrive at new understandings. We were born into this world with many characteristics of our personality that can only smooth over with time. These distinct details create the feelings inside of us that support our learning. The decisions we make are our nature, and we are never doing wrong when we follow what's inside of us that makes us do what we do. Every action we make creates the perfect experience for us to develop the way we agreed to before arriving in our human form. Elaborating that being human was our choice, the fine line. In differentiating between truth and lies and reality between reality conducting, an understanding must arise. This fine line, or potential contradicting element, needs careful attention to be in accordance with actualization. Cultivating the capacity to discern how we adhere to our inclinations is a fundamental degree. The spectrum to consider suggests a scale of fear and trust. Trust should not be confused with pride. Pride can be a lie and also develop from fear. The ideal approach is meditating on the currency associated with a wish and feel-out if it is overstimulated in any way. Trust is a calm energy where fear is unsettled. Anxiety can derive from excitement or worry. In either case, this currency is energetically hyped, and to classify trust, we are looking for a peaceful currency. Love, trust, and respect are the ingredients for success in real magic. Understanding these elements and using them with you first is the only way to develop a safe and stable foundation. Don't think of me as your sister, friend, or just a little girl. In fact, exclude me altogether. Every situation and word compilation is spiritual. Look deeper, higher realms are always speaking. Hali Sarab, Dictionary. Here is a basic guide to understanding my new words. 1. Ability, usual words ending with ability define as the ability of the given word. 2. Full, usual words ending with full, have the same meaning as the word when seen in an English dictionary, except with the full ending it means full of the root word. For example, impactful means full of impact. 3. Usual words ending with an E have the same meaning as the word when seen in an English dictionary. However, for grammar purposes I chose IE to replace, like. This helps simplify and is similar to words together using apostrophes when adding two to make one. In other words, the meaning of these words holds the root word's definition, and the IE ending means the word holds the characteristics of that meaning. For example, rebellic means rebel-like. Invented words used in Twee's book. Rainbowed, bands of color in the sequence of a rainbow reiterance, nature of repetition to make strong octalty, 8 components that make up a whole. Tetralty, 4 components that make up a whole.